I was convinced that the next morning the newspaper was going to write the story about the victim of this epic beating, and it was going to be this dude. I believe that all car people have their favorite car or motorsport movie. It could be Smokey and the Bandit, it could be Cannonball Run, it could be The Wraith, it could be Gone in 60 Seconds, either one of them. It could be Hollywood Nights, Talladega Nights, American Graffiti, even the Fast and Furious movies. As long as they keep making them, I'll keep watching them because I'm a car person. Now, my movie was, and always has been, the 1983 American classic by John Carpenter, Christine. I was one of those kids that took apart everything I had to try and build a better, faster version of it. I had the Lamborghini Countach poster, the big 6-footer on the wall, Lee Iacocca's autobiography on my nightstand. I was not a particularly cool kid. Let's be honest about this. And one of my cousins started to notice this tendency towards carness. You know, that you can recognize it early, kind of like those kids that torture animals, but not quite, but more of a, you've destroyed every Matchbox car you own. What are you doing? So he shows me this movie, and this is probably 1985 or something like that. It's on a VHS copy. And I just fall in love. I've never seen a car like that before in my life. Those forward look, Mopars were just absolutely gorgeous. And I began what is probably an unhealthy obsession with this car. Like, I watched that movie so many times on so many VHS tapes that they would eventually just wear out and become kind of warbly, like you're watching adult content Saturday morning and in the 80s. Not everybody would understand, but older people definitely know that one. So that became my car. That was the car I had to have. 1958 Plymouth Fury 2-door hardtop sport coupe in GM Spectre Red with a 350 Golden Commando. That was the car of my dreams. Let's fast forward a little while. And of course, through your 20s, I was not particularly financially doing well at all. And even if I had run across one, I would not have been able to afford it without black marketing a kidney or something like that. So lo and behold, I get a phone call from one of the guys in the Hearst Club, and he tells me, it's like, look, I bought a car online from a guy in Tampa. It is a 1958 Plymouth Savoy 2-door hardtop sport coupe, which has the perfect body lines for this, but it's got a 6-cylinder in it that's in the head's in the trunk. He said it ran when parked. It's a good builder car. I can't go get it, but he's going to sell the car if I don't come get it. Okay, what do you want me to do? He goes, look, you can buy the car from me. We'll work out payment later. Just go get it. I'm beside myself. So here is the body lines I desire, and it's not that far. So, and I'm going to finance it, which is even better. And I'm financing it through a friend with my credit score that looks almost exactly like my golf score, essentially at this point in my life. So called one of my best friends, Mike. I said, dude, I give him 3 sentences. That's all it takes. He says, hell yeah, man. Gets in the truck, hauls over to my house. We go borrow a trailer from another friend of ours, and we just book it. 7-hour trip to Tampa in probably 5. Now, when we get there, because I have worked a full day, right? And the pictures that my friend has sent me have a car that looks buildable, right? The front fender's sagging a little bit. Most of the headlight trim is missing. It's definitely on flat tires, but it is in this PVC and tarp enclosure that the guy has erected in his yard in the picture. So you can't really see the whole car, but the guy, describes the car in a certain way, and so it must be. So we make this trip, and we arrive in the deepest, darkest parts of the evening, and the guy comes out, and this is the first time we've seen the car without its shanty roof over it. If you've never experienced heartbreak, like a proper gut-wrenching heartbreak, imagine meeting your idol. They say don't meet your heroes, but imagine meeting like Carol Shelby and then finding out it's not Carol Shelby, it's the bug-bladdered beast of Crawl, or the girl that you've had a crush on since you were a wee lad pantses you in front of the entire school, and you're not wearing underwear, and it's freezing cold. Like, that is what I felt like at this moment. This car that looked like it was a buildable car, with its crushed fender and its flat tires. It really looked like somebody like September of 1957, September is when the new model year came out, drove this car into the ocean, proceeded at 100 knots into an offshore oil rig, where they then hit every body panel on it, sunk it, and then resurrected it 45 minutes before we got there. Literally at this moment, the Titanic has less rust on it in total than this car possessed. I look at the gentleman, and I say, of course in flowery language, I shall not repeat for a family show, something to the effect of, this is not how advertised. And I will never, ever forget what he said to me, because he looks at me dead in the eye and says, well, that's your problem, not my problem. Now, understanding too that most of the time you would just walk away from such a deal. I mean, you've driven all this way, you have the trailer, you just would leave it where it sits. However, my friend has already paid an undescribed and undisclosed amount of money for said car. And this car is now going to end up in some other poor schmuck's life if we don't take the car with us, and my friend will just be out the money. My temper started to get the better of me at this point. I've driven all day. I'm exhausted. I worked all day before that. And the car of my dreams turns out to be a huge steaming pile of crap. So temper overrides logical brain, and I chase after the guy. I was convinced that the next morning the newspaper was going to write the story about the victim of this epic beating, and it was going to be this dude. Now my boy Mike, good redneck that he is, hunted. And he led me just right. He proceeds after me at the right angle where he intersects me, tackles me, and puts me on the ground as the guy gets off. I'm like 3 or 4 feet ahead of me. He goes inside, locks the door. Realize then, when the rest of my brain kicks back into normal gear, that this dude's probably calling the cops. I'm sitting here without any kind of documentation that I'm supposed to take this car in a trailer that doesn't belong to me in the middle of the night after attempted assault. We should probably get out of here. Winch the car onto the trailer, and as we're leaving, I may or may not have, depending on the statute of limitations for either the state of Georgia or Florida, whoever has jurisdiction on such a story, most likely did not say this. I may have used the side of the trailer into another car that he had in the backyard. I'm not proud of that, to be honest, but I would do it again. We get on the road, and it's so dark, and we're so tired. I was like, dude, let's just pull into a rest area. I need a nap, and before we drive back. Get a couple hours of shut-eye, sun comes up, and we start driving down the road, and the rust coming off this car looks like Thanos just snapped it out of existence. I'm so scared, Mr. Stark, and we have to stop 3 more times to add ratchet straps onto the car to keep the roof and the hood and all this other stuff from flying off. So we ride back in a companionable silence. That's the only word I would use here, with the level of understanding of how miserable we are at this moment. And we get home, we back the trailer into my driveway, unload the car, and my wife comes outside. And she looks at the car. She looks at me, looks at the car, and comes over and just gives me a big hug and says, I'm so sorry. Because even as determined and obsessive and stupid and stubborn and all other words you could use to describe me, there's no chance I can revive this thing. And this is the first time I've been able to see it during the daylight. So I start surveying the car thinking, maybe there's something I can work with, or maybe there's a part that will, can work. But where the rear glass met the trunk, there's a metal valance that goes across there. There was an 1.5 inch gap that had rusted through, and basically all the way around the car. And you could see the very earth itself through this cavern. And where there was supposed to be this head from this brand when parked car, there was no trunk. There was nothing. It was just empty, dead space. The roof itself wasn't attached to the car anymore because it rusted all the way across the front of the windshield, and the A-pillars were completely gone. And the window regulators in the back were the only thing keeping it from falling into the abyss. And even those were cracked, and the windows themselves were separating. And I opened up the passenger door, and a piece of floor that looks like a nacho comes with it. It's about 1 foot in size. Everything on the car is toast. There's not a panel on this thing you could cut up and turn into silverware. It is just junk. So I do what any self-respecting car guy would do, and I proceed to get egg-sucking drunk. And I walk in front of the car, and I say, okay, show me. And I swear to you, by the gods old and new, what was left of the headlight bezel fell off the car. And I just lose it. I cannot process what has just happened in my life. Everything I've ever known has come crashing down upon me. And at the moment I'm expecting this glorious resurrection, it falls apart further. Car sits in my driveway for months, just continuing its process of decomposition, to the point where I've quit watching the movie altogether. Even the discussion of the car, I just cannot bring myself to even talk about it. So I call Richard, the guy who originally purchased the car, and I tell him, come get this thing. We'll settle up later on the gas and everything it took me to go get it, because we never exchanged funds. Once I'd explained the car to him, and once he had finally come over and looked at it, I was no longer, I'm basically storing it for him at this point. He's living on the south side of Atlanta in an area that he's not particularly fond of, and he's trying to move. One of the reasons he decided not to take ownership of the car or take physical possession of it. Favors are funny things, and he's done enough for me over the years, and I've done enough for him, where it makes a good story, even if it did crush the mortal soul from my ginger body. I gave up for probably 10 or 15 years. I haven't seen the movie until about a year ago, when I decided that maybe I will no longer pile upon its hump all of my hatred, and I will watch this movie once again and maybe find some semblance of joy in it. Then I almost got to eBay. I was typing in autos and then stopped, because I'm like, no, you dummy, just no. And so I will probably never own a forward look Mopar. I still occasionally will run across pictures. A friend of mine has one, and it's a perfect Christine clone with the proper colors and interior beige, with a white roof and everything. But I don't even want to see it. Every time you post a picture, I'm just scroll past. So that is the car that ruined my childhood.
Are you looking to buy your dream car? Premier Financial Services offers the flexibility of financing with the tax benefits of leasing. The PFS Simple Lease offers quick approvals and easy termination when you are ready for the next car. Visit our website and follow us for more.